It's to connect you to your calling. Look at somebody and tell them, get connected. Now let's look. In the second, verse 1, in the second year of his reign, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams. His mind was troubled, and he couldn't sleep. So the king summoned the magicians, the enchanters, and the sorcerers. And they're kind of like all of the same group. They're like astrologers. A lot of folk don't know. Some of y'all, I pray you ain't. Because if so, intercessors, we got to start praying right now. I pray that y'all ain't wearing no astrological signs under your blouses or suits, or you ain't got your, all that other kind of crazy stuff. Because you got to understand that astrological signs come from mythology, Babylonian mythology, about battles down here, and those that lost, I ain't got time to deal with it, but those that lost those battles were cast into the stars, into the celestial beings, and that's where all of the zodiac signs come from. And it's a belief that your destiny and your future is connected to the alignment of the stars when you were born. And so people casually read their horoscopes and so on, don't realize that they are following the practices of the people that are within the text. It's not an innocent thing. It's dealing with demonic influences that are at work in the world today. So it said the king summoned the magicians, enchanters, sorcerers, and astrologers to tell him what he had dreamed. When they came in and stood before the king, he said to them, I had a dream, y'all, and it troubles me, and I want to know what it means. Then the astrologers answered the king in Aramaic, and they said, I'm just kidding. They said, O king, live forever. They said, tell your servants the dream, and we will interpret it. Isn't that a normal request? I said, isn't that a normal request? Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, preaching and teaching is a dialogue and not a monologue. So talk to the preacher. Because if you don't, we're going to be in here till next week. Anybody going to talk to me today? Okay. So this is a normal request. He had a dream, right? And then he called in his astrologers and enchanters and sorcerers. Sorcerers use drugs and all that kind of stuff to create spirits that would speak to them. The spirits would speak to them. Demons would speak to them and reveal the unknown to them. So they said, okay, dude, okay, king, just tell us what was your dream. Isn't that normal? Right? But go back to the text. He says, the king replied to the astrologers, this is what I firmly decided. If you do not tell me what my dream was and interpret it, I will have you cut into pieces and your houses turned into piles of rubble. But if you tell me the dream and explain it, you will receive from me gifts and rewards and great honor. So tell me the dream and interpret it for me. Can you imagine what they look like? They didn't come in prepared for that, because this is out of the norm. This is an unfamiliar place for them too. And we're going to conclude with that. This is a foreign place for them too, because they had never experienced anything. They had interpreted dreams, but you got to tell me what the dream is. It kind of, sometimes husbands feel that way. What's wrong? Don't you know what's wrong? No, I don't know what's wrong. Come on, fellas, wink at me. I know I won't get y'all in no trouble. Sometimes your wife just wants you to know certain things. You should just know. And if you don't know, she's going to cut you into pieces. And all your clothes going to be a pile of rubble. With bleach, somebody said. Now, then he said, but if you tell me the dream and explain it, you'll receive gifts and rewards and great honor. So tell me the dream and interpret it for me. Verse 7. Once more they replied, let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will interpret it. Then the king answered, I'm certain that you're trying to gain time. He said, y'all playing with my intelligence. That's what y'all do. Y'all trying to gain time because you realize that this is what I firmly decide. If you do not tell me the dream, there is just one penalty for you. You have conspired to tell me misleading and wicked things, hoping the situation will change. So then tell me the dream, and I will know that you can interpret it for me. The astrologers answered the king, there is not a man on earth who can do what the king asks. No king, however great and mighty, has ever asked such a thing of any magician or enchanter or astrologer. What the king is asking is too difficult. No one can reveal it to the king except the gods. And they don't live in our neighborhood. They do not live among men. This made the king so angry and furious that he ordered the execution of all the wise men of Babylon. He said, I'm going to wipe not just y'all standing in front of me, but I'm taking everybody out. You ever been so mad? Y'all remember when you was growing up and mama so mad she whooping one child? Come on, somebody help me out here. That you got to get out the house, get your dog out the house, leave the roaches in, but get the dog out the house because mama's on a rampage. She taking everybody out. You ever deal with a supervisor mad at one person and then everybody in the department got to pay? You ever done that to somebody in your life? So he said, I'm taking everybody out. Verse 13. So the decree was issued to put the wise men to death, and men were sent to look for Daniel and his friends to put them to death. So here Daniel he knows nothing about what's going on. See, oftentimes, before a crisis hit you, God has allowed the enemy to manipulate situations long before you are aware of them. I wish I had me. But the crisis is not going to destroy you. But the crisis is going to connect you to your calling. Oftentimes, we're so busy listening for God's voice that we're not hearing him through the crisis. We're kind of like Reese. Where's Reese? Come here, Reese. Come here, Reese. Come here, Reese, real quick, Reese. Come here, real quick. Earlier today, Reese told me, he said, Daddy, can I wear my suit today? I said, yeah, man, you can wear your suit. Matter of fact, he took the suit out. He took this out. I put the shirt. You see, he's ready to say something. He took his suit out and all that kind of stuff. And then when he's putting it on, he said, Daddy, I look like a preacher. I said, you do, son? Then he said, when I grow up, I want to be Chris. I said, you do? He said, no, I want to be a preacher. Can I be a preacher, Daddy? I said, no, the Lord has to call you. And then this is what he said. This is what he said. Say it.
Okay. Here we go.
Say it.
On the stage.
On the stage. Go ahead on the stage. Say it on the stage. Say it on the stage. Now, so this is the scene. See, because this is what we want from God. Now, here it is. Now, I said, Reese, God has to call you. And what did you do? Say it, just like
God
you
said
Go.
that when I grow up, God said when I grow up, I'm going to be a preacher up in here.
No. Y'all better encourage him. This is how he did it. He said, I'm talking to him. And he said, this is what literally, I'm putting his little tie on his shirt. He said, Daddy, can I be a preacher? I said, that's up to God. Then he said, Clarice, you will be a preacher when you grow up. Go ahead, go back down. No, go back down. So, but that's how we want to hear God. You know what I mean? We want to hear God like his voice at night. You know what I mean? You hear those stories about people, they sleep, and then they hear God say their name, Joe, and you want to wake up and say, here am I, Lord. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Sometimes you be praying and you be like, his voice is in the crisis. The enemy and the crisis is not in control of your life. He's using the crisis to connect you to your calling. Because without the crisis, you wouldn't have moved. If you had stayed in the house, you wouldn't have moved. If you had stayed in the marriage, you wouldn't have moved. If you'd have kept all of that money, you wouldn't have moved. You would have stayed right where you were. And his voice wasn't where you were. His voice is where you are headed. God help me here. His voice is in the crisis. Anybody know what I'm talking about? See, because I know what you want. You want God's voice to stop the crisis. But Daniel sitting up, minding his own business. Dude prays 3 times a day. He's very spiritual. We already read chapter 1 in Daniel. We know dude is faithful. And here come a crisis. I don't have anything to do with these people over here. But because you lump me in the same category. You hear what I'm saying? If they laying off teachers, you're a teacher. You're in the teachers. Are y'all walking with me? If they're laying off employees in your company, you're in the group of the employees. Come on, somebody help me out. You're productive, you're fruitful, but you're still in the group. I don't know which stage or which phase of the downsizing, and I know you praying and you fasted and you believe in God and you sowing your seed. The crisis may just result in you getting the pink slip, and it wasn't the devil. It may just be God connecting you to your calling. Are y'all walking with me? I got saved at 17, 18 years old. And my testimony, that's a testimony. But it ain't my only testimony. Are y'all walking with me? I have a series of testimonies, of walks with God and experiences with God. Some are extreme highs and some are extreme lows. Some are very comfortable and some are very difficult. But all of them together are a part of God pushing me to where He wants me to be. And oftentimes we're wrestling so much in this unfamiliar territory, and we want to be what we think we should be, that we're not maximizing where we are. And unbeknownst to you, you think it's bad now. You got some other stuff on the horizon about to knock on your door. Y'all didn't say amen to that, so let me go back. What verse did I end off with? 13. So let's go to 13. So the decree was issued to put the wise men to death. And men were sent to look for Daniel and his friends and put them to death. 14. When Arioch, the commander of the king's guard, had gone out to put to death the wise men of Babylon, Daniel spoke to him with wisdom and tact. Very respectful, right? Very respectful. Wisdom and what? Tact. He was very calculating in what. Don't always give people a piece of your mind because they bring to you bad news. Wisdom and tact. Anybody ever didn't speak with wisdom and didn't speak with tact, and the minute it came out of your mouth, you regretted that it came out of your mouth? But the problem is, it's out of your mouth, and you can't take it and put it back in your mouth. But Daniel said, I got to use some wisdom, and I have to use some tact. I have to carefully choose the words that I'm about to say. Why? Because with my tongue and how I respond could either result in me getting more time or me being killed on the spot. Because they are after me. They are not going to bring me to a gathering place to kill me. They're going to kill me on the spot. They came with a contract. They're not about to take me to a centralized location. They're going to take me out right now.